Imagine this for a moment. You wake up tomorrow, step outside your home, and realize every single person in your town is gone. The streets are empty, the houses left wide open, meals still sitting warm on dinner tables. No struggle, no note, no explanation. Just silence. This is not a horror movie. This is the chilling reality of what became known as the Silent Village Mystery, an entire community that vanished without a trace, overnight. It was the summer of 1954 when two hikers, wandering through dense forests in Eastern Europe, stumbled upon something strange. At first, they thought they had discovered a quiet village tucked away from the modern world. Wooden houses stood neatly along a dirt road. Laundry hung frozen on clotheslines. Doors creaked gently in the breeze. Chickens pecked aimlessly in abandoned coops. But something was missing: the people. Everywhere the hikers looked, there were signs of life interrupted. Half-eaten meals remained on wooden tables, as if families had been called away in the middle of supper. A kettle still sat atop a stove, its water long evaporated but the smell of smoke faint in the air. The hikers called out. No one answered. They knocked on doors. Silence. By nightfall, the unsettling realization sank in. This village was completely deserted. When authorities arrived days later, they confirmed the impossible. The population, more than 600 men, women, and children, had vanished as though the earth had swallowed them whole. Investigators combed through the settlement. What they found only deepened the mystery. Fires still burning in hearths, as if the villagers had left mid-evening. Plates of food on tables, untouched but fresh, now rotting in the days since. Personal belongings untouched, wallets, jewelry, even coins left in plain sight. No sign of robbery or looting. Clothes drying on lines, fluttering in the wind, as though their owners would return any minute. And yet, the villagers had vanished. One officer later described it as walking into a stage set after the actors had walked off. Most chilling of all, in the village square, a church bell had been ringing faintly when the hikers first arrived, though no one had pulled its rope. As word spread, theories flooded in. Newspapers dubbed it the Silent Village. People wanted answers. How could hundreds disappear without a trace? Mass flight. Some believed the villagers had fled, perhaps driven by fear, but there were no signs of invasion, war, or natural disaster. Everything of value had been left behind. Poison or plague. Others suggested a sudden illness, maybe poisoning from the well. But bodies should have remained. There were none. Mass abduction or cult ritual. Whispers grew of something darker. Had the villagers been taken? Or had they left willingly, driven by faith or fear into the forests? Weeks later, a breakthrough seemed to appear. A tattered leather-bound diary was found inside one of the abandoned homes. The entries, written by a young schoolteacher named Aliska, painted an unsettling picture in the weeks before the disappearance. She wrote of strange lights over the forest at night, low humming noises that seemed to shake the ground, villagers waking from nightmares, speaking of shadowy figures at their windows, children complaining of whispers no one else could hear. Her final entry, dated the night before the disappearance, read simply, "They are calling us. I fear tomorrow will not come." That was the last anyone ever heard from her. Despite intensive searches of the surrounding forests, rivers, and fields, no bodies were ever found. No footprints leading away. No carts. No carriages. It was as if the villagers had dissolved into the air. The unsettling detail? Livestock had also disappeared. Not a single cow, pig, or horse remained. Only chickens and dogs left to wander. Experts were baffled. How do hundreds of people, and their animals, vanish simultaneously without leaving tracks? Locals whispered that the land itself was cursed. Centuries-old legends spoke of a phantom caller in the woods, a spirit that lured entire groups to their doom. Generations had avoided settling there, until this community tried. The story tied eerily to Aliska's diary, her mention of voices calling in the night. Could this have been a mass hallucination? Or something unexplainable? Another theory emerged in declassified documents years later. During the Cold War, experiments with sound waves and chemical agents were rumored to have been conducted in remote areas. Was the Silent Village an accidental victim of one such test? Were its inhabitants evacuated under secrecy? Their fates erased from the record? It would explain the abruptness, the lack of remains, the silence that followed. But if true, why leave everything behind in perfect order? Why no paper trail, no admission? Decades later, the village still stands. Its wooden houses sag with rot, but the belongings remain, preserved like a museum of absence. Urban explorers who dare to visit speak of an unnatural silence, a heaviness in the air. Some report hearing footsteps where no one walks, windows slamming shut without wind, the faint toll of that same church bell. One visitor described walking into a home and feeling as though someone had just left the room, though dust had coated the furniture for years. The silent village is now a forbidden zone, fenced off by authorities, but its legend grows stronger each year. The most terrifying part of this mystery is not just that an entire community disappeared, it's the lack of answers. No documents, no remains, no survivors, just silence. To this day, no one knows what happened on that night. Did they flee? Were they taken? Or did something ancient, something beyond comprehension, call them away? Some mysteries leave behind clues, fingerprints, scraps of truth waiting to be pieced together. But the silent village offers nothing but silence. And maybe that is the most terrifying part of all. Not knowing whether it was human cruelty, natural disaster, or something far darker. Because if an entire village can vanish in the blink of an eye, what's to say it couldn't happen again?